Hi, good morning, everyone. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay, so I think since morning we have been having a lot of discussion on security aspects on AI, Gen AI, cyber security, and this seems to be a topic that everybody is just talking about in the digital world. And not only in the digital world, but otherwise as well. I think everybody is just, since the time the ChatGPT 4 has come up, everyone is just talking about this topic. So we just thought that we'll highlight a few of the things, what's the art of possibility, some of the things that, where we have also started working on. So, so first come first, as we all know that this is a buzzword. So we just thought we'll talk about certain statistics that it is not just a topic which is still restricted to the CEO's office or in the boardroom. Organizations have actually started working in this particular area, whether it is in the space of marketing, sales, it is in the space of production, manufacturing industry, on the shop floor, or even if it is on the customer-facing front. So everywhere, if you see, top executives are talking about it, and they have actually started doing the POCs right now. So the key point here is it really a hype? Because if you look at from a technology perspective, there were days when people used to work on Excel sheet, then we've moved on to the base analytics, then high-end analytics, then we moved to predictive part, AI, now we are talking about Gen AI. So is that really something which organizations have been able to adapt, leverage, and move on? Or is it still a hype that there have been technologies in the past, how much have been able to leverage it? Additionally, in spite of all the leading technologies or solutions that are there, when we go and have discussions with the clients on the shop floor or on the lower level, people still use Excel sheet. They still say, no, Excel is still relatively the best tool that we would want to leverage and we want to use. So let's proceed forward on this. So the first and foremost important point is, we have been talking about AI, and now it is about Gen AI. So what's really the key difference that we are talking about at this, on this particular topic? So on the extreme left-hand side, you will see about things related to AI, and on the right-hand side, it's more around Gen AI and what's the shift. So when we look at on the left-hand side, as far as the AI is concerned, it takes your past data. The models would need the data that you would have to feed into it. So that means a large volume of data, the pointers that you are looking for, you need to feed into it so that it gives you the kind of intelligence or prediction that you would want. Like for example, as far as my procurement is concerned, I want to know how much for a specific SKU, what raw material I need, by when I would need, how the cost is going to change, how the location from where I need to procure, that will have an impact, so on and so forth. However, when it comes to Gen AI, yes, you would feed in some data, but it looks at the alternative sources as well. And it helps you come out with innovative output as well, which means it recreates, it regenerates the data on its own as well. It doesn't restrict itself to that data set itself. And that's the reason that we say it, from an AI perspective, it has a limited applicability. Whereas from a Gen AI perspective, it has a higher adaptability. Now, we just had a discussion, I think 1 or 2 discussions back, that everybody was just discussing Gen AI, and we all have started using it into a certain extent that itself is giving us so much of results. And here we are talking about that AI has limited adaptability, whereas Gen AI has more adaptability. Now, this is relative. When we talk about standalone itself, it itself is quite good enough to help you work on different predictive models. Like I was talking about procurement, even in the dealer distributor networks as well, organizations have started using different AI models to see if I have a large dealer distributor network, then rather than a dealer distributor coming and telling me in 2-3 days before that I need this material, please can you ship it to us within no time. With the help of these models, you can predict it much in advance that in next 15 days, what kind of raw material what kind of finished product I as a dealer would need in a specific region that I have, so that the organizations can ship that finished product to that particular dealer right away rather than waiting it when the demand would come in. Now, however, when it comes to Gen AI, and I'm talking about higher adaptability, this is where it starts creating more content. It starts telling you that what the scenario in the market might change, or what other additional parameters are coming, and hence do you really need to see and the demand will come, or something else might change. On the AI part, it has limited creativity because it all depends on the data that you are actually feeding it into the system. However, here it is creating more and more data on its own itself to tell you that the set is not limited at this particular point of time, and hence organizations have started to think that do we really need to start moving in this direction and be ahead of the game. Now, as far as AI is concerned, it is there for specific tasks. Like I need to predict how much raw material I need. I can predict how much demand would come in. I can predict my sales executive how much he or she will be able to sell in that particular quarter. I will be able to predict that a specific region will have a demand or not. However, here it can take various pointers, starts defining that what could be the other art of possibility as well as far as Gen AI is concerned, and new data gets created as well. Having said that, these are all the areas where AI also was working on. Now Gen AI is also exactly working on. For example, if I talk about the operational efficiency, now with the help of AI, I know on the ground, on the shop floor, if I'll take a manufacturing example, what kind of process I have and how my process improvement can happen, or how much with this current process using the constraint I can produce, I can do quality checks, I can store, I can deliver. However, when we move to Gen AI and we feed the same data into the different algorithms or the different models which have got created, it builds on that. It extracts some additional data sources and helps predict that while the parameters that you have taken, it only helps you do some process efficiency for the problems that you know today. It helps you tell the problems that might occur in the near future as well. So that is where there is one step above, where Gen AI is able to help you predict. Because AI can tell you what my problems are and what is it that you can do and how you should really solve it. It even goes one step further to tell you what kind of problem might come up for you in the near future. That's the differentiation happens as far as the AI and Gen AI is concerned. Again, on the customer experience side, AI has already helped everyone talk about the concept of personalization. So like if I move to now a consumer industry as an example, in consumer industry, because we all are consumers, we all have seen these as well, that earlier if we had to go and buy a specific product, or let's say if you have to buy a jacket or a shirt for ourselves, we used to even tell them that, what's our size, etc., etc. We used to get our shirts. Now things have moved, or when you move into a store or a mall, they are able to understand that person A has come in. These have been the requirements of person A, or let's say Avinash has walked in. Avinash wears a specific kind of shirt and a specific fit, and this is what he always purchases on a regular basis. So as soon as you enter into that particular shop, you are able to see that that once a customer executive comes to you, he or she greets you that, hello Mr. So-and-so, welcome again. You have been purchasing this shirt. Are you looking for the same shirt once again? This is the kind of intelligence you are able to get it with the help of personalization, with the help of AI. Now, with the help of Gen AI, you are not only able to get the contour of your body and get the shirt or any other clothing or fitting that you are looking for. It even goes ahead and tells you that while you are buying a shirt of a specific fit right now, the way your body structure is growing or reducing, this same size may not fit you. So it even helps you move a little bit more further to know what kind of personalization I as a executive standing over here would be able to help you with the customer who is coming in, subject to the information is available to that extent of that individual. Let's say if Avinash is coming in, his data point or his information is available so that you can do that kind of prediction. And that needs to then connected with and be available at that particular level, I mean, of course, from a data sharing perspective, and then the shop, then the executive in that particular showroom will be able to help you and guide you. So there are enough and more use cases where organizations have started. There are certain places where we have started doing POCs as well. I will talk about it in the subsequent slide. So now the key question remains there, that while we talk about AI, we talk about Gen AI, we talk about this, we talk about that, how do we incorporate that in our digital transformation journey? Because this transformation journey is immense. Today, one thing is required to be done. Tomorrow, there is something else which is required to be done. So then how do I really get this integrated into a journey? So there are key 4 or 5 steps that you need to take into consideration. The first becomes, what is the value that I as an organization are looking at from this concept? So that needs to be very, very clear upfront. It's not that just because there's a new technology which has come up and everybody is just talking about Gen AI, let's just start using Gen AI, or let's start thinking about it. It becomes very important that what is the problem statement that I'm looking at? Am I looking at that it should help me increase my revenue, or on the operational side that my cost needs to get reduced, or efficiency, or there has to be some defined use case that you need to identify within the organization. Once you have done that, as a second step, it becomes important to know what kind of Gen AI technology I need to adapt in my organization, which means it is not that everything will fit all the cases, right? So that becomes an important aspect. Having done that, the third aspect becomes very important, which is similar in the case of AI and Gen AI, that what is the data set that I'm feeding? We all know if we enter junk, we get junk as an outcome, right? So the data becomes very, very important. The key difference here is, as far as when we do AI related things, the data set that you provide, it gets limited and it trains on that itself, and the outcome keeps coming in that particular manner itself. Let's say if you train your email engine that this is how you should filter emails, that these are the right emails and these are the spam emails or the junk emails. It operates that way. So once an email comes, it filters it and positions it that way. But here, once you feed certain data quality, it then starts looking at additional data sources as well, which could be in the form of video, text, or if for that matter anything else, and pull that data and starts training it even further. Then next comes is the kind of model that you are looking at. And with the help of that data, you keep training your model to keep looking at what is the kind of outcome you are getting it. Is that resonates in terms of what you wanted as an outcome or not? Fifth is a continuous process where you keep testing it because GenAI will take new data sources. Because it will take new data sources, the data source is not limited to what you fed. And hence you need to see when my outcome is coming, is it in line with the kind of outcome I was looking at, or it has taken a lot more kind of data which perhaps may not be relevant for me, and hence I need to go back to this step number 3 and re-enter the data from where I actually have started. So moving on, while we talked about these are the steps, GenAI can do all that, how do I really get started? Because the buck stops here. Having said all that, how do, as an organization, we start? If at all we want to start at this particular point of time, right? The first is that you need to start rather than keep thinking, keep planning about it. A lot of time it happens that the discussion revolves around that, let's make it mature. Do we have the right use case? Do we have the right team? Do we know what problem we need to solve? So on and so forth, right? So you need to keep that aside and you need to start somewhere. Allocate it that, okay, let's start, what is the problem statement, and get going on that. Second, you need to then build a program on top of it. Allocate certain team members who would work on this particular engagement. Now, it could be a combination of internal people and external consultants, or whatever combination you may want to do it, but you need to build that particular program to see, whether it is actually progressing, it is showing you that result. And third is that collaboration both between internal business stakeholders, external stakeholders, so on and so forth. But this is where you need to get started to test it. Otherwise, a lot of times it happens that we don't have a right business case. No, we have many business cases, we don't know where to start, right? So all these organization constraints that keeps coming as far as starting any new program or a new project is concerned. Having said that, some of the practical adaptation which have started in the industry at this point, but one important aspect I think which we all need to know and keep it in mind is that in GenAI it takes other data sources as well. And then once we start feeding the model and then it starts taking the data from external sources, it becomes very important to see the outcome because your data is also going out, right? The moment you are on it, and I think during one of these discussion which happened on panel discussion happened, there was an interesting point which somebody has also called it out that your data also goes out, right? So that's why you need to be very sure of where you want to start. Do you want to build this internally or do you want to leverage the technology which is available out in the market, because everything has its own pros and cons. Many use cases where it has started, like for example in the product innovation, as far as the drug discovery is concerned, with the help of all the R&D, AI organizations have been able to understand the patterns and talk about and come out with the drugs which will help them solve certain health issues. But with the help of GenAI, they are also able to predict that what other potential diseases might also come up, and hence the drug that we are creating right now needs to then solve those particular problems or we need to restrict it. That's where it helps you identify and do the drug discovery in a very, very different manner. Another example, as far as the medical imaging area is concerned, we are working with one of our clients on the POC at this point of time where all these radiologists or other, or rather when we do go to the doctor, right, they ask us go through all these tests, whether it is in the radiology department or in the blood sample department or anything else, right? So, and the outcome comes out of it. This is my report. Now we sometimes can't, read these reports. We bank on doctor. Doctor will only give us 1 minute, quickly see. Radiologist would have given some information, or the people who would have done the testing on your blood samples would have written some recommendations. Doctor will just see 30 seconds, give you some medicines, right? So with the help of GenAI, there have been models which have been built where it has a very high level of predictions to look at those reports, look at those text images, and help identify those problems and predict that, okay, this is the problem that you have, or let's say if I have given my knee sample, that what is the real issue that you have in your knee right now, and what could happen in the near future for your knee is concerned, and similarly, such cases. So this is becoming a lot more adaptable as far as the healthcare industry is concerned, and people have started accepting that. Sorry, you had some questions? No, sure. So there is a POC that we are also doing with the client at this particular point of time, but there are immense and more use cases where other organizations have also started it. It is still at the nascent stage because everybody is still evaluating, even from a data security perspective, but the time has come. So that's all I had. I know my time is also up, but from a presentation perspective, this is what we wanted to present. Happy to have any questions. I know the time is up, but then we are outside, so happy to have any discussions. We have just our booth outside to have more discussions, because I think they have another panel to come up onto the stage. So thanks everyone. Thank you for your time. But I know you just raised your hand, so maybe we'll just meet outside and have a discussion.
We can take a question if you want. We can take one question. Is anybody want to take any question? Yes, can we have a mic over there, please?
Thank you. Lovely presentation, first of all.
Thank you.
We talked about, it's a very interesting topic for me because I do work with AI actively in all the companies I have. I have two questions. Number one is you talked about how the data set keeps increasing, right? So how do we restrict the quality of it? Because the major problem we have with machine learning is AI is going to operate with whatever information we feed it. If it's scraping off the information by itself from whatever the primary data set we have given it, how do we restrict the quality that it's scraping off? How do you work around it?
Yeah, so I think it's a very interesting question. So AI would restrict to that data set. However, GenAI will not get restricted to that data set, right? But the base to start is the data set. Now, what becomes important is the quality of their data set, but that is an internal exercise that organization needs to look at first, that how do I clean my data? Because if you will keep feeding the wrong data or unclean data, you will never get the outcome, right? So it becomes an important exercise to look at your data first. What is the level of data that you have? What is the quality of data that you have? You need to check and balance and have the discussion where let's say if you're working with your client, so then is this the right set of data set that you would want us to start working on? Because then you cannot go back. Right? Because if you feed a certain data into the model, you will have to check which model will get applicable using that data set as well. Because if you have a different data set or if you have bad quality data, the outcome will be totally incorrect, right? So it is important to check and sit with your customer and talk about what is the data set that you have given, why this is a data set, what are those parameters, and what is the outcome that you're looking at, right? So sometimes you need to just go back one step to also ensure that what is the outcome that they are looking at.
Sorry, that's fine. I'm saying the extra data you said it will keep scraping. How do we define the quality of that? Are we saying that we have to clean that data ourselves manually, or are there any parameters that we put in to make sure that the new data that it's scraped off matches certain quality?
Right. So at this particular point of time, where in the journey of GenAI it is right now, the whole aspect is to take outer sources which are still not validated. That means it should take care of any and every data source which is available, and the whole purpose is that when you have given certain data set of yours, while there is in source data, there is humongous data, the model will look at what data set you have fed. Based on that, the model will take the relevant data from your source system as well. And hence, there is a huge correlation which is there between both of them. Now, restricting it to the source data, that means you are going back to the AI part of it and not really talking about the GenAI, because GenAI needs to then start reproducing and recreating more and more data for you, or more and more solutions for you, and not restrict yourself to that particular problem. Let's say, for example, if they need to predict a very simple use case that how many employees are going to leave from my company, then it restricts it to at an AI level. But then when it extrapolates it, it takes market source, market data, then you would know, okay, there is a possibility that it could be many other reasons, and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Sure, sir. Okay.
Yep. Just to add on, data classification is very important while feeding it to sanitize things, and considering the predictive nature of GenAI,
yes,
there might be a risk of biasness. Your take on it, and what do you think about adaptive AI rather than GenAI?
Currently it is at a very early stage, right? So it is still difficult for anybody to really talk about the whole adaptability part. I think you are asking about the adaptability part only, right? So it is adaptability from a problem-solving perspective for organizations.
Yes, because one of the reasons for GenAI is that you have defined the protocol, set the rules, but it will create the biasness based on the set standards.
Yes. But see, the whole purpose, if you don't want to do that, right? So then you are restricting yourself to one step back, which was the AI part, right? Where because there is defined problem statement, defined data sets that you are feeding in, and then you are getting the outcome out of it. The whole purpose of opening it up so much that people should start using it, adapting it, but it all depends on from the organization, from a culture perspective as well, that who wants to adapt, to what level they would want to adapt it, whether they would want to test it, they don't want to test it, who will be able to use it within the organization. I think those things are still evolving. Even wherever we have had discussions with our clients, some clients are very close-knit. They want to adapt it, but at the same time, they do not want to expose any of their data, because right now, if they feel that if I expose my data will be there everywhere, right? So then their adaptability is very minimum, that no, let's hold on. They have been thinking about building such models internally for the simple reason that my data will remain internally to me and it will not get exposed. But in that case, how do you add more data sources onto it? Then you are restricting yourself, right? So I think that's where it is still happening within to the set of clients that we have been discussing about. Adaptability is still at a very early stage. Some organizations are thinking, some are thinking about, on the slide that I have brought in, that they are still in the discussion stage. Should we not? And if we should, where should we start and how do we start, right? So I think the adaptability, we all have to see how this picks up in the next 1 year time frame at this point of time, because even a lot of organizations have not really moved to the Gen AI part itself. So if they have not really moved to Gen AI, how do you really push them and make them understand the difference between AI and Gen AI and push them that adapt this, because this will start creating something more for you, right? So I think it varies on culture, where the maturity is as far as that organization is concerned, what problem statements do they want to solve it, what is the approach within the organizations, it's an open culture or it's a top-down approach, and so there are many factors which essentially goes into it.
I will talk to you offline.
Sure, definitely. Thank you.